Sziasztok, Pethő András vagyok, a Direkt35 egyik alapítója és szerkesztője, és mi készítettük független filmesekkel együtt a Dinasztia című dokumentumfilmet, az Orbán család üzleti birodalmának felépüléséről szól. Már nagyon sokan láttátok ezt a filmet, de aki még nem, az szerintem nézze meg, érdemes. Most ebben a mostani beszélgetésben, ebben a videó beszélgetésben a film egy nagyon izgalmas részletére fogunk rá fókuszálni, méghozzá arra, amikor bejutottunk a Tiborcz Istvánék elit klubjába, a titokzatos budai klubjába, rejtett és rejtett kamerás felvételeket készítettünk ott. Most a beszélgetést mindjárt át fog váltani a nyelve, angolul fogunk beszélgetni erről, mert az újságíró, aki segített nekünk bejutni oda, Széchenyi Bence, aki ugyan picit beszél magyarul, de angolul komfortosabban tudunk vele beszélgetni, úgyhogy majd feliratok segítségével tudjátok követni a beszélgetés további részét. És itt van velem egyébként Marton Kamilla is, kollégám, aki dolgozott velünk együtt a filmen, és igazából ő volt ennek a rejtett kamerás műveletnek az ötletadója, kidolgozója, projektmenedzsere. Hello, guys.
Sziasztok!
Hello. So, Camilla, let me ask you first, like, how did this whole idea come to you to get into the club?
So we've been talking a lot about what new things we can add to this movie, outside of just people talking and we needed some action as well, I think, because it's just people telling what they found already. So it was just journalists telling their experiences and their findings, and I think we needed something that was an action scene and something that's also new to the people. And when this club opened in 2023, I already was interested in it because no one could get in. So journalists cannot go in and take pictures and make interviews, and that made it very interesting to me. And of course, I wanted to get in, but it was really obvious that they won't let me in. So I had to find someone who they cannot say no to. Um, and I met Bence some 2 years ago at the Perugia International Journalism Festival, and my colleague Szabolcs Panyi introduced us, and I think we vibed, and I think that um, we made a friendship there, and I thought about him that like he is from this very famous Hungarian family, the Széchenyi family, and I thought that they cannot say no to him when he applies to a club like this because this club is for the Hungarian elite. So that's why I thought that Bence
Mhm.
is perfect for it. And also he's a journalist, so for us it's not that much of a work to prepare him for this job.
Mhm. So, Bence, tell us, what was your first thought when Camilla approached you with this idea?
Well, she told me what the film was going to be about, and um, as someone who is has been following Hungary, working in Hungary for several years before that, I became aware of the issues of corruption in the country, and so and also familiar with the work of Direct Harminsat, and so I knew that it was going to be a big, solid work of journalism about something that was very important. So I was eager to help out with that project because I knew that it was going to be important. As for the specifics of the idea for my involvement, um, I I was excited and I was confident because I had was coming off of a year doing an MCC fellowship, and I had seen um, how my last name affects people in the Fidesz orbit.
So this is like just for those who don't really are not familiar with that. MCC, Matthias Corvinus College, is a pretty much like a pro-government educational institute or slash think tank.
Yeah. And so I knew that it was a good idea. I knew that it would work, and I knew that it would get something important for a film on a very important topic. So I jumped at the opportunity to be involved.
But didn't you have, any second thoughts throughout the process? Or I don't know, did you consider any kind of, danger? I mean, not necessarily physical danger, but, you knew that, what can happen with someone in Hungary who is like, takes a critical position or goes up against the system.
At the time when Kamilla and I first started talking about this, I was doing reporting in the border villages between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and driving from village to village and interviewing these people who had been at war for decades. And that involved many confrontations with the police, with the National Security Service. It was a contentious thing to report on. And I say this to say that, I'm a reporter. I dwell in contentiousness. It's if something is comfortable to talk about, it's probably not something I'm interested in. And so, yes, I knew from writing about MCC in the past that there was going to be a large backlash from pro-government presses, trolls, and everything in between. But that perhaps the number one job of a journalist is to not be dissuaded by that pressure.
Well, we are really happy that you accepted this mission that we asked you to do. Can you both of you walk us through the whole project, like how it happened, step by step, what kind of preparations did you have to do, and both in technical terms and everything. Yeah, just walk us through, please.
First, we had to do a CV and a motivational letter to get in the club. And I think we tried to think forward with the whole. We knew that they're gonna search Bence on the internet, or probably they will. And there were these articles about him being a CIA agent, and because
Really?
he was criticizing the MCC. Yeah, they thought, yes, there were some pretty wild accusations.
On dinner.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, not that I'm surprised because they do this all the time, but I didn't remember specifically that you were also labeled as such. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
They wrote about him that he's a CIA agent. And yeah, it was crazy, really. So we thought that if they find this, like the owner of the club, like Tiborcz, or like the people who hire someone for this club, we thought that we have to like dodge this bullet somehow. So we wrote into the motivational letter that Bence has been to Hungary many times, but he was raised by this Western media, which draws a whole another picture about Hungary. And now he knew Hungary better, and he thinks that it's a really nice place. So we wrote into the motivational letter that something really changed with Bence about Hungary and how much he loves this place, which is, I think, it's true. You like
Yeah, I mean, to be
Hungary as
honest, I
far
mean,
as I
even
know.
like, I think even, I mean, that's true that, sometimes not all, of course, not every Western media outlet, but some of them, publish superficial, stories, or, they don't, sometimes, they're not even accurate,
Yes.
even if the, larger picture that they paint is mostly true.
What the letter did, like crucially, was people in Fidesz circles tend to define themselves as hungry. And so by writing honestly about what I think about Hungary and how I've became a journalist because I was living here and I or living in Hungary, and I felt the desire to translate the things that I was experiencing and the history I was learning in Eastern Europe to Western audiences, which is the actual reason I became a journalist. But by writing that I felt these things about Hungary, uh, it came across like I was politically in line because they associate Hungary or being Hungarian with themselves. So yeah, the letter was successful for that reason, I believe, where I was very honest about the my desire to, explain Hungary to a degree, for people who know nothing about it. And I think that quite intentionally was a double entendre where I could have been talking about Hungary, the nation, or I could have been talking about Hungary, the current political situation.
Yeah,
And so it was
that's smart. So yeah, yeah. And what was next?
So it was very important to us not to lie on this motivational letter, just to phrase our thoughts in a smarter way.
Mm. Yeah, it was telling the truth while allowing a bit of uh I guess a lack
Ambiguity.
of clarity, a lack of
Yeah.
specificity on certain things to make it so that someone could read it in multiple different ways.
Mhm.
All truthful,
Yeah.
but open for interpretation, I would say.
Strategic ambiguity,
Strategic ambiguity. That's exactly right.
yeah, I love that phrase. So what were the next steps after that? Like, you sent a letter, and then I don't know how long it took for them to reply.
Pretty quickly. I mean, let's think. I can do the math actually. I sent it took about 3 weeks for them to
Mhm.
respond. And they invited me in for an interview. And that's when we shot the first bit when I was in Budapest, um, the red sweater scenes. Uh, and yeah, that's when it became a reality that I was going to be in the film
Mhm.
and this was going to happen.
Mhm. And this was in the summer, right? So I mean, just to
This was
to
late
let the.
July,
Mhm.
late July.
And so Camilla, because I know that you were also quite busy in the meantime, to make sure that once Bence gets into this club, like, of course, we wanted to make sure that, we can record this, we can that he, when we can hide the cameras.
Mhm.
Uh, and I know that you put a lot of work into that with the help of Bali in the bureau, the co-director. Can you explain us what you guys did and what happened?
Yes. Um, First we had to think about what we should ask to these people, like what we want to know about this club. And I think András, you were part of that brainstorming
Mhm.
on like what to ask from these people and like how to act when you're sorry like how to act when you approach these people and not to be too pushy but like ask again if they don't answer. And we also had to talk to our legal experts, so there was that part as well, because this is something that we don't do a lot of times at Direct 36.
Yeah, actually, this is the
um,
first time we've never done undercover reporting. That was also actually we had to think about it, whether this is appropriate, whether it's ethically okay. But once we realized that, I mean, we knew that, this club is part of this business empire that we are shooting the film about, so it was clear that this is a justified it can be justified to do this, because otherwise we couldn't get information from this. Nobody is ever reported on the club from the inside, like properly. I mean, I think there were some PR tours, but nobody actually got in. Sorry, I just wanted to explain the background of this to the viewers.
Yeah, it's important. It was clear that this was the only way to find out about this club, which is tied to this empire, which is what we were investigating. So it was the only way.
Yeah. So then we were thinking about how to record these. Should be this just some voice recording, or also like we should. But then we talked a lot about it, and like it's obvious that we have to capture it on camera because no one was inside, and I mean no journalist was inside before and could make footages. So it was really important to show what's there. Um, and then I started to search for hidden cameras, and it was easier than I thought it would be because there were a lot of websites offering hidden cameras with the most shady descriptions, like if your partner is cheating on you, then you should choose this, and and then I found a web shop which had like a storage in Slovakia. So with the help of Balint, we drove to Slovakia, like Balint Biro, the one of the cameraman and the co-director of this movie. We drove to Slovakia, and it was very important to choose something that Bence is gonna be comfortable with, so he doesn't have to like it's not very complicated to turn it on, or it's not too obvious that it's a camera. So
Basically, a
um,
chimp would have to feel comfortable operating it for it to work reliably.
So, and what kind of devices did you get in the end? I don't know if you. I think we can explain. It's not.
Okay. So we chose three things, but one of them didn't work. We chose a watch which had a small camera inside and a pen. And I think the pen was really great. It was just one click and it's on. Um, and we put that outside of Bence's bag, which was my bag, but I gave it to Bence. Uh, so we put the pen on one of the pockets, so it can see everything. And then the third one was a body camera, which is you can click it on your suit or whatever, but that would be too obvious. So Balint, who was previously a magician, like a show magician, does it have a name, a specific name?
Just magician, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Balint, who was formerly a magician, and he has a really nice skills. Um, he made that camera like he saw it under a button on a suit. So the third camera was on under Bence's suit under a button.
Right here. So when I had my suit button here, it was sewed into the lining, so it was just peeking out through the button, so it just looked like a normal button, and then in between one of the buttonholes was a lens. It was brilliant.
Wow.
It was brilliant.
And I remember just to I think it's important for the audience to understand how much work went into this this operation that ended up being. I know that everybody loves that scene, but still it's just it's a relatively small part of the film, because I remember like Kamilla, you were here in the office, and then you spent at least a day, but maybe more, with testing these devices, whether they work. You wanted to make sure that everything goes well, and then on the day of the the action when when Bence you actually got into the club. I mean, basically, although it was, I mean, and so we will talk about that in detail, but I know that it took the whole day because you had meetings before, meetings afterwards. So it's it's yeah, I think it's good if everybody understands how much work goes into a film and into a project like this. But Ben said, we have, everybody loves this scene, but of course we could only show just, basically it's just we have a few minutes in the film of this. So can you tell us a little bit more about how it was inside? Actually, how much time? I don't know how much time you spent inside, but
I must
yeah,
have been
please
there
tell us
for
more.
I must have been there for like an hour or an hour and a
Mhm.
half. Camilla, you remember? You were waiting outside for
Yes. Oh, it was so stressful. It was like a little bit more than an hour.
yeah. So you get there, you ring that bell. It's very weird because everyone is looking at you like, why are you here? Who are you? Um, and then, I say I'm there for my membership interview and sort of everything changes. Like they were very suspicious of me. And then I was like, oh, membership interview. And then everything changed. And then they went into like guest mode, fake smiles and all. And then they took me on a tour of the facilities, and just like the most advanced spa stuff I've ever seen, like multiple kinds of saunas, cryo chamber, like this like cold chamber where there's like a little bicycle that you go on for, I don't know who uses that, but it's like stuff that they probably have at like the training facilities of Real Madrid that they also have at this club for I don't know who. Um, and yeah, they took me through the locker room, showed me the tennis courts and the paddle courts. We talked about their paddle tournaments, and I said I was going to win them. Um, and then, and then yeah, they showed me the the kids' room, um, which was extravagant, and then took me through they showed me the outdoor gym, which I still think about to this day whenever I'm like exercising in a park gym here in London. I'm like, oh my God, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Mhm.
And then they took me into the dining area, big fridge of expensive wines like and champagnes, um, as like overwhelming, huge wall-sized fridge of fancy wines. And then I meet the other woman and we sit down for our membership interview. They asked me like a couple questions about myself, but shockingly little interest in who I was.
Mhm.
We talked about who I was, what my schedule was. Their big concern was how often I'm in Budapest because I go back and forth. And so, like, figuring out which membership option would be right for me based off of how much time I'm in Budapest. And then we spent about half of the interview, which is not included in the film at all, um, talking about the Spice of Europe, like Instagram campaign
Mhm.
and what DJs they brought. And then we were talking about my favorite restaurants in New York.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was like the bulk of the
Mhm.
interview.
Mhm.
They bragged a lot about the stuff going on at the club, the tournaments, the parties, this cool. So a lot of me going, oh, that sounds great. Oh, that sounds fun. Oh,
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
fantastic. Uh, and then huge talks about which influencers were where.
Mhm.
Uh, One of them told me that she lent a dress to Haley Bailey or something like that.
Mhm.
Some influencer that I
Mhm.
didn't know, but I pretended like I did. So that was a cool story from her.
Oh, oh.
But it was just like a lot of irreverent conversation. And then I left. and that was it.
And
That was
and
it.
what was your impression? I mean, this is something that you talked about in the film, but is it a club where you could, feel that you would join, or you feel uh, comfortable?
I would never join that club because I can't afford it, but also also also
And
because
we couldn't afford it either. I mean, it's
I've
just
been
too
seeing the
much.
comments of like, why didn't you pay the membership fee? And I was like, well, because it was 8,000 euros. So if you want to pay it, then we'll make a sequel. But but no, the club really got on my nerves because it has that specifically Fidesz politic style of renovation and architecture, which is they completely plaster something new, perfect, shiny, white, like immaculate, made to look old as if it's a part of or like in built in an old style so that it's meant to be honoring a history, but that history is exaggerated. So like there's old, tennis rackets on the wall and vintage posters of tennis tournaments, and it's made to look like this historic club that has this history of grandness, this like old money, like nobility, British aristocratic equestrian like energy, which it's not. It's in the Buddha Hills. It's brand new construction. Everything smells like it. The price tag just got taken off.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's this. That's why I call it tasteless because it's this. It's offensively modern while claiming to be old, and I see this same style of renovation in how the government approaches castles and historic districts and old buildings. It's just a complete remaking that, in an attempt to honor history, erases the history. Like
Mhm.
I think about that style of Japanese ceramic repair where they take the cracked ceramic and they put gold in between it and they keep the pieces so the design of the ceramic becomes the cracks.
Mhm.
And I think that should be an aesthetic with which someone approaches historical restoration, like honoring the history that exists, the damage that exists, while making it functional. And instead, like the club, like so many places, just white plaster everywhere, and then these random artifacts that are meant to invoke some history that may or may not exist in the way they imagine it. So that's a long-winded way of saying that I found it tasteless.
But thank you for elaborating. It's what we have in the film from you about that. We don't have that much time left, but I really would like to ask both of you about the, reaction, response that you guys, got personally, about the film as a whole, but also about about this operation, this sting operation itself.
Well, for me, it was very, very stressful because, you know, there were some legal threats that we should consider because, making hidden footages, it's not something that's known to us, and like it can be like legally attacked even though we blurred everyone in the footage, and we even blurred the voices of the
Yeah.
people, but still
Yeah, we made sure
it was
we really wanted to make sure that this is about this is not about showing someone's expose people or our plan was not to show Tiborcz taking a sauna or whatever. We wanted to show the world, to the public, what this hidden world looks like.
and also it's like I really felt the responsibility if something bad happens, that's basically on me because it was like my project, and I sent someone inside instead of myself, which is which is not something I would do in any other case. I would go myself if I could. So I was a bit nervous about it, but I know that Bence is a professional, so he could handle it. But still, I felt some kind of responsibility on myself. Um, but the reception was great, I think, and we could even capture some funny moments, like when they say that they do illegal gambling inside and then they deny it and say that it's with play money and for recreational reasons. So I think that was a very funny and very true picture about them, saying that these very important businessmen are playing with with play money inside
Yeah, yeah,
this
with
elite
tokens
club.
and everything. Yeah.
And like from our side and from the side of the viewers, I think everyone loved that scene, and we didn't get any legal threats so far,
So
so I
far,
think
yeah,
that's great.
we'll
And
see.
it's not even that they didn't send us like legal threat, but they showed the club after our video came out, after the documentary came out,
Actually,
they
even
showed
before,
the
I think
club
I
Yeah,
think yeah, they did it maybe a couple of
before.
hours before. I think, yeah, I don't know. I just read
they knew
about
it was
this,
coming. Yeah.
but because when they
And it's
knew that the
definitely
film was,
because of the documentary, so it's no question.
yeah, it's pretty
Um,
clear.
so their response was that okay, it's out, so we need to show it, and
Yeah.
I think for us, it's good.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it's reassuring, and then basically, yeah, their reaction is like, well, there's nothing to see here, but actually, we showed that there was something to see here. So, and Bence, how was it? How was it for you? The response?
The response has been massive. Like the people have been reaching out to me and being very kind. It's the most positive reaction I've gotten for any work I've done. And you know, going into it, I wanted to talk about corruption because it's important for Hungarian people to understand what's happening. But as I got into the club and as I left, like the things I took away from it were, these people who had been put in very fortunate positions through unsavory means have used that wealth to isolate themselves from the public, create a hidden world for themselves in which they can keep anyone who's they seem to see as less than away, um, to reclude themselves, and it's just I find it uh, I find it very strange. And one thing that sticks with me a lot walking out of it is like they throw a Cold War themed party, okay, but the things they have are champagne and caviar. So like, are they the Russians in this Cold War reenactment? And isn't that a bit weird to
Mhm.
role play as a Hungarian?
Mhm.
So, you know, there's I wouldn't say there's anything evil happening in the club. Like, we didn't know what we were going to expect when we were going there. Was it going to be like, you know, like some sort of gentleman's club? But then, so there's nothing like scandalous, but there is just this strange immoral hiding from the reality of being Hungarian. And yeah. And so I left thinking about that a lot, and yeah, and then the response I received of people appreciating the chance to see what was happening in there, um was great. And I mean, that's why I did it, because I knew I could get access to this, and I knew that a lot of Hungarians couldn't, and they'd have the right to know um what the people at the top are doing.
Can I ask you? I mean, if you don't feel comfortable, don't answer. But I'm curious, like, if you got any response in your wider family. You're coming from a famous family. I don't know if they
Um,
uh, are aware
yeah,
of what you did.
I missed the Széchenyi family reunion last summer, so
Mhm.
I missed a chance to uh, to meet a bunch of cousins, but like a lot of people have reached out to me via social media, in responding not just to the film, but interviews I've done, and also finding old writings of mine where I've written about Széchenyi things. And I've gotten responses from family members about how I've thought about what it means to be from the Széchenyi family, and what I use that to do, that have been really positive and really reassuring, because those are the people that I care to make proud the most. And then, I know that there will be positive and negative comments from the Hungarian people at large. I think if people watch the film, they'll see why we did it. But any subsection of the population that is able to appreciate that what we've done is take hidden facts and make them public facts, and appreciating our work along those lines means a lot to me, because I did this film because I wanted to uh, help the country in this humble ways that I can, and so it means a lot that people are able to see it as that.
I mean, thank you. We are enormously grateful to you for accepting this and taking part in this. It's yeah, we really appreciate it, and I really hope that that film uh, is going to be watched by some Hollywood producers as well, because I think if they do like a new version of Ocean's 11, I think you already got the role,
Yeah,
because
then I
you were extremely cool. It was super. It was super fun. I mean, I'm also, and I feel also grateful for having even a small role in this special operation that Camilla designed and developed. So I'm really proud of you guys, and thank you so much. Again, please, everyone, watch the whole film. If you haven't watched it yet, you can watch it again. I think it's a great piece of film art, thanks to our wonderful filmmaker partners. And yeah, thank you so much for this conversation. And please don't forget that Direct 36 is can do this work because of our supporters, because of our supporter community. So if you're not a member yet, then please join. Thank you very much. Köszönöm.